Hi everyone, this is Susie from Minnesota, and this will be the last garden tour for the year 2020. And it's about the end of the first week in October. We've been having some really nice autumn temps. Early September was a little cold, but then turned out to be super nice. Tomorrow they're talking possibly 82. That's weird for October for us, but I will take it. Squirrels have been out in full force. They've been digging. They broke a good hunk here, which is now laying over here. I did plant some mums in these containers because the caladiums were, that cold spell really did them in. And it looked a little And it's the front of the house, so I don't do a whole lot. Now what I spend my money on is spruce tips, because that'll be probably in about a month here that I'll be planting up these pots. And the spruce tips usually last about 5 months in these containers. In this area, I got rid of all of my coleus. We did have a night that dipped to 30 degrees. And I took out the 4 pots that were in the ground there. And I planted tulips. So we'll see how that goes. The ground is so dry. So dry. Sorry for all the crunching. It definitely is autumn here for sure. Lots of leaves. I leave them on the beds. I don't clean them off. At some point I'll be adding more. Excuse me. Leaves are the best thing that you can add to your beds. Whiskey barrel is cleaned out. It doesn't look quite so big now, does it? I just mowed yesterday, that way the yard was covered in leaves. Of course, and they just get mulched up. I have a bagger on my lawnmower that I will be collecting these leaves at some point, but you can definitely see there's a lot to fall yet. It's normal for the hostas to look like this, turning yellow. I've been cleaning out my beds too. As far as any of the coleus that I planted, caladiums I've already dug out. Hopefully I can get them to store for me inside. I don't have a lot of luck, so we'll see what happens. I had gone to my garden center. They were having a good deal, like end of the season sales on perennials. A lot of people in my zone were all buying mums, and I was busy buying perennials. But down here I have 3 heuchera. It's paprika. So I'm hoping they work for me. I like that little pop of color. Again, they don't look like much, but that's okay. Happy thoughts for next year. Down here they just had one of the dwarf goat's beard. And yes, it looks a little piddly. I know everyone is saying should plant in odds. Well, I mean, it isn't odd because it's one. But if they would have had more, I would have gotten more. I love dwarf goat's beard. It's supposed to be in the mid-60s today. A little chilly yet. It's morning here. And then I did get a few more hostas. So right now I'm just keeping everything well watered. Any of the new plantings, not quite yet prepping the beds for fall. I usually like everything to be pretty well dyed back before I start doing that. So I had moved some of the persicaria. And thanks to a viewer, it's Painter's Palette. Not sure I'm going to like it. I think it offers a different color here, variegation. I might be redoing it next year, but who knows. And down here was a hosta that was on sale, and this one here, I mean, it's very tiny, but it will get bigger. And that's what I mean by this is an immature hosta, and it is Blue Angel. And I thought that blue color here, along with all of that green, will kind of break things up, along with the variegation of the Persicaria. And then this is what I mean by the squirrels. They're just crazy. And then this is Rainbow's End. And again, that's an immature version of Rainbow's End. So quite a difference, isn't it? It's been a bit breezy here the last few days, so hopefully there's not too much wind interference. My hose is out because it's just been a lot of watering of all of the perennials that I split, the new ones that I planted. The ground is bone dry. I mean, I think this is probably the driest autumn that I ever remember. I'm hoping that October, it'd be nice if we could get dumped on. I did end up covering some of this with some sheets just to protect it until I can figure out, or at least make room for these, because I was thinking about bringing these annuals inside. They still look pretty good. I do have to pull out some of this coleus here. Lots of crunching. Still doing pretty good considering it is October. This has seen better days. I'm surprised some of this stuff did make it through that 30-degree temps. I think my trees offer a lot of protection because this begonia still looks really good. I'm not seeing any damage. This purple heart looks pretty good. Coleus loves it hot, so that looks a little but still okay. My banana we did get rain, I would say, kind of early September, and what happened is a lot of that rain just made this, it fell over, so I have it tied to my fence for now. It's still looking pretty decent. I'm trying to hold on to as much color as I can before everything is just put to rest. See what I mean by the squirrels? Some of these holes are really big that they're digging. I think they dug up one of my geraniums that I had moved. So we'll see. Should have worn gloves. My hands are a little chilly right now. We'll go to the back of this garden. But that sky is so blue. I'm thinking, you know, my neighbors, they have maple trees. And I love the dead leaves on maple trees because they just crunch up so nicely. They dry up and they decompose really quick. My trees, the leaves are kind of glossy and they get a little slimy. They take a little bit longer to break down. Yep, this is normal. At least in my zone 4. Some channels that I'm watching is like, I don't see one leaf on the ground. I'm like, oh my goodness. down here, I completely forgot that I had this. I'm going to show you where it's at in another area, if I remember. Sometimes I say that and then I forget. But I did have some ajuga from a long time ago. And so I just dug some out of my garden. And I don't know this variety though. But this is a ground cover. And I thought it had all died out because usually it's so wet back there that things just rot and go away. But this year with it being dry, I was planting some grass back there and I'm like, oh. So I decided to move some of that for some color in this garden. These are plants that I got at my garden center. And they're called Muckgenia. It's kind of a horrible name if you ask me, but they're a cross between Muckgenia and Bergenia. And I liked them because it offered some fall color with that foliage. So we'll see how that goes. This, I did not cover this coleus and that pulled through. It's seen better days, but like I said, I'm still leaving it. It's just I'm holding on to whatever I can before things just look really stark. You can see I haven't given up on this urn planter over here. I pulled the caladiums out, but I left that poor little dragon wing begonia. And this container back here I had moved because the other one was done. And also down here, so it's funny, out of these three grasses, I keep saying Hakanaklo is not hardy to my zone, and it probably pulls through in some areas. We'll see how this does. So I have three types. I have the all gold, I think one is solar flare, and this is aureola. And I just love that color, how it ages. I think that along with, well, and you can see the primrose back here has some nice coloring too on the leaves. But I think this will look really good with a stilby that's over here. But this will be heavily mulched. I don't know if you can see the pagoda dogwood. That pink on it's so pretty. It is such a slow grower though. I think it's been here for, oh, I would say at least 8 years. I'd say it's about my height. Just 5'5", so if you're looking for a small tree that grows really slow, that would probably be perfect. This persicary I think is so pretty, and it also offers some light color in the garden. So dainty. It does self-seed all over. So does one, to be careful, but it's so pretty. Turtle head is still offering some color. It's been blooming for quite some time now. I can still see some bees on it. And this is a mature rainbow's end, if you're not familiar with my tours. So isn't that unbelievable how different they look? Oh, this is a better look as to what the primrose looks like with the leaves. So that's some nice autumn color. This is what my sedum does. Again, the sun back here right now, very little, but it's still offering some nice late color in the garden. And I don't mind it. the anemone over here is still blooming. Unbelievable. That is so pretty. Very impressed with that plant. Oh, I have to show you some of these containers still. Like I said, I'm very surprised that they pulled through that cold spell. But isn't this begonia just gorgeous? And it's just loaded in blooms. And of course, the Plectranthus still looks good. We're coming to an eyesore. I'm very sorry about that, but this is what happens in my gardens this time of year. I'm not going to hide it because it's messy. So, I've been cleaning out my tomato beds, everything, to tell you the truth. This bed over here, stuff is just getting put in this bed for now until I can get to the waste site, which is very inconvenient because it's Wednesdays and Saturdays that it's open at certain times. So it just sits here. Yes, it's an eyesore, but that is how I do things. And other stuff, I have Creeping Jenny in one of these, Creeping Charlie in another, so it's not something I want in my beds in case if it would root. Because honestly, anyone who grows Creeping Jenny in containers, just be careful that you're not planting it where it can root into ground, because this is something I'm going to have to get control of at some point. Yes, it's pretty in containers, but this is out of control, and I don't want it to smother my perennials. Diamond Frost Euphorbia still looks really good. Loving that. The salvias are amazing. I figured they'd be the first things to go once we got that 30 degrees, but look at the blooms on them. That has to come down. That is done, my morning glory vines. So again, not much color. I'm just kind of showing you what it looks like here in October for my area. This Black-Eyed Susan back here is still putting off some color. I love that with the blues. I mean, look. Oh, that is crazy. Every branch has a bloom. So taking cuttings was a little tough, but I just cut the blooms off and hope for the best. But I know it's a little broken, whatnot, but again, it's just giving some color. Let's see, where do I want to go? In the back real quick. And what I mean, these beds had leaves to the top, and it's all worked into the soil over the summer. Every one of these beds. So been trying to do as much as I can. There's just some days, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just not motivated. It's kind of sad putting my bed to rest, but then again, I'm planting tulips and alliums and thinking of next year. Oops, my little metal feature there. The Viticella Polish Spirit is still blooming. I love that clematis. It is one of my favorite ones, very aggressive. And very, very happy with that. Joe Pye weed looks horrible. It's just... sun feels so good back here. Moving along, this is probably going to be a long tour for not a whole lot of color. Oh, I got a couple honeysuckle that's still holding on. So I planted a grass back here. It's supposed to get about 7 feet tall, tolerates wet conditions, and but this is where all of I pulled the ajuga from. I was shocked to see all of this back here. Very pleased. I think maybe it was just one of those years where certain aggressive perennials just weren't that aggressive because we were so dry. This feature here keeps falling because of the breeze. I don't know. I might give up on it. So yeah, all of these beds. And I will do a video on fall prep and talk about it. I will say I don't do a whole lot. I have tulips planted in here. Squirrels have been digging like crazy, so hopefully they don't dig up my bulbs and be a little upset. Some color back here still. It's kind of an eyesore, but I'm still leaving the blooms on and these up just for the pollinators that are still around. Because they are around, and I'm not ready to give up quite yet. I don't know what to do about this asparagus here. And I'd like to dig it up, but crazy. The verbena still looks pretty good, but I am hoping this self-seeds all over. In here, I've taken out the zinnias that were in here. It just kind of opens this up. But down here I have 3 penstemon that I had planted earlier in the season, and I had gotten those plants from Select Seeds. And they were tiny when they came, but they've definitely spread out a little bit. I'm very happy. Can't wait to see what they do next year. This Texas sage is still really pretty. I really like that. And then the scaevola still putting out some blooms along with, oops, the alyssum down here. I had split, sorry my shadow's in the way, all of the sedum down here. I'm still there. So I now have 10 sedum kind of in a row. We'll see what happens. Nepeta is still blooming here. Not a whole lot of color, but hey, you know what? It's something. And then down here is where I think the squirrels dug out at least one of those hardy geraniums. Pretty big hole there when I went to water. And they've been digging by the white ones, Veronica. Got a little dizzy there. Roses are still doing good. Those are also easy roses. And the amazing thing about these roses is, like again, if you saw one of my first tours this year, you saw how small they were, and they put on all of this growth in one season. I was a little amazed. Still putting out blooms. So pretty. I love these grasses. Love how they move in that breeze. I think it's so mesmerizing. Miscanthus sinensis. I could just sit out here and watch them. Lamb's ear is crazy. Again, if you saw some of my first videos, I ordered those online. They came. There was maybe 1 or 2 shoots, and I felt kind of stupid planting them as far away as I did, and wow. We'll see what they do next year. Back here by the grasses on either side, I have Purple Sensation alliums planted. And then also kind of amongst, in these gaps here where I could, I have some tulips planted. Not everywhere, just certain places. In here, I have to be careful because I keep wanting to step here, but I have tulips all planted in here. And I am just letting the leaves sit there because I prefer things being heavily mulched for my area. I can hear the school kids outside. This begonia still looks really good. Apricot Illumination, so pretty. I love that one. One of my favorites. See, look at the salvias. Isn't that crazy? It's like there is a bloom on everywhere. And the Cleome, still looking good, putting off color. I'm just going to get rid of the sweet peas. The seeds are not drying, the pods, so I'm giving up. I pulled some squash from this area over here. I did have some the other day from that back area over. Oh my goodness, it was so good. All the flavor. I had gotten some from a store. Oh, it was so disappointing. Like, but I mean, they're not that big. This is probably the biggest size, but oh, love that. These roses are doing so well. I mean, they've put on, this has just been planted this year, and they put on all that growth. They were bare root roses, and very impressed. My issue will be protecting them from the rabbits. And yes, the rabbits eat the rose bushes. They chop them down. That was my issue with these, because in winter they chopped them all down. Some of the stems had dieback and left me with pretty much stumps. And I think they're doing pretty good. I just worry about the climbing rose over here, so I might put a little like chicken wire around it. I don't know. I just love that. And the birds, I love those. Just that sound, oh my goodness. That tree over there is completely bare. Look at this lobularia. This has been spectacular. The canna is still doing okay back here. You can see it's got some damage here. Still blooming. Crazy. Again, see the sweet peas? Oh, this one might be something here. I might see if I can get some. The zinnias are still offering just a little bit of color. And the tithonia, I loved how this garden did this year. Doesn't the Gara look good? And that's crazy. This is barely getting any sun, and I love how wispy and airy this is. I'm just super excited that it decided to bloom again. This is how I like Creeping Jenny, where it can't root anywhere. And when I get rid of this, that's definitely not going into any compost bins. Gomphrena still offering some color. Again, things are a little spent, but it's still giving me a little joy. Look at the zinnias here. Isn't this, I mean, they're all like, just putting on that one last flush. More salvias, still giving off lots of color, lots of blooms. Look at this one. That is a massive spike. This verbena here must have gotten hit by the frost, as it looks pretty sad, but surprisingly the geranium still looks pretty good in here. I leave all of these flower heads on the hydrangeas. They offer some nice, I mean, think about how long they've been going, since July. And I still think they look amazing, to tell you the truth. They just still offer that some color. They will brown up at some point, but I think it offers a little interest through winter. crunch. I mean, look at this one. This is insane. Isn't that lovely? I don't know if you can see that color. It kind of looks like we were in the shadow there. But yeah, this is, look at this. The salvia is still putting out blooms. It's not like this had any protection from trees over here, so. Oh, but I love these hydrangeas. And I'm a little worried about limelight here, little lime. Because when I was mulching at the base, it was a little mushy. So I'm hoping it pulls through, but look at how that ages. Isn't that neat? Where the sun doesn't really hit it. Really like these. These hydrangeas have been here for 6 years. This whole area, actually, with all these shrubs, have been here for 6 years. So I would be very sad if this one were to go, because it takes a long time for hydrangeas to really get mature. Seeing if I have anything left on my bloomerang lilac. I really don't. But yeah, that is it for my October tour. I probably won't have another one. It's just things are, even right now, things are looking a little eh. And I mean, it was a very long tour for kind of eh. There's a lot of things still giving me pleasure. These grasses, the bad thing about these is if we were to get a snow, that snow will just smush them to the ground. So I'm very jealous of you who don't get a lot of snow and you can enjoy your grasses throughout winter, because yeah, although I do like the snow. That, to me, it's like, again, it's just as great as rainwater, if not better. But, so yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this autumn tour, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do next for tours. I think I'll talk about fall prep real quick, about certain things. Like I said, I don't do a whole lot in the fall, but for any of you who are in Minnesota or Zone 4, I'll just kind of let you know what I do, and kind of go from there with what I plan on doing. Bye for now.